Hey everyone, Kitana here, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my Astro community.
Bitches change, they act like I ain't all this. Getting money, that my main focus.
And in today's video, I'm going to tell you guys why your ascendant sign is the most important part of your birth chart. In astrology, we get so obsessed with our sun sign and we think that's everything, but in reality, there's other parts of our chart that exist and really hold more importance than just our sun sign alone. And one of those really important places is our ascendant sign, aka our rising sign. If you want to find out why a rising sign is so important, keep on watching. Okay, so in astrology, as we all know, we have our sun, moon, and rising sign. Now that's known as our big three. I would say our moon sign is really one of the most important things in astrology in general, and then our ascendant sign is also really important. Now it doesn't mean our sun sign is not important, but it just means that our ascendant and moon signs can tell us way more about ourselves than just our sun sign, but in today's video, I'm just talking about our ascendant sign. So just to touch on the ancient history of our ascendant sign slash rising sign, when we are born, our ascendant sign is basically the constellation that was rising on the east while we were born. So if you think about the literal place where you were born and you think about geographically where east, north, west, south was, your rising sign is the east, and that's the constellation that was on the eastern side of the horizon while you were born. So that's why it's so important to know your birth time, because the constellations shift every 2 hours or so. So that means the rising signs shift every 2 hours, so it really matters what time you're born, because you could be born in between, like, I don't know, Cancer and Leo. But if you don't know your birth time, then you could either be a Cancer rising or a Leo rising. And like I said, rising signs change every 2 hours. So for like Pisces and Aquarius, those are the two most rarest like rising signs, because those ones only last for about an hour and a half rather than 2 hours like the other signs. And that's also why the geography of your birth matters a lot too. Like if you were born in another country, if you were born in America, whatever was on the east side, like the constellation. So let's say the Leo constellation was rising east while you were born. You are a Leo rising because it was rising while you were born. So that's just like the logistics of a rising sign, so you guys can understand the origins of it. So let's talk about this concept of east and the direction of east and what it means in history. So in ancient history and traditional astrology, the east represents our soul. It represents new beginnings. It really represents this sense of rising soul, hence why it's called our rising sign. It's basically your soul being incarnated into this lifetime. It is your soul beginning a new journey. That's what represents the east when we're talking about astrology. And so essentially our rising sign is really our soul. It represents our soul, and then on a deeper level, it represents our soul's purpose in our birth charts. Because ultimately it represents our new incarnation into this lifetime. And whether you believe in past lives or not, it really just represents our new soul being like taking our first breath of air. Okay, so now let's talk about this within the context of astrology. I know you guys are probably like, okay, what does this even have to do with anything? But basically our rising sign kind of sets the theme for our entire lives. If we look at our rising sign and specifically look at the planet that rules that sign, that planet will be considered our birth chart ruler. So for example, if you are a Sagittarius rising, Jupiter is your ruling planet. That means Jupiter rules your birth chart, and Jupiter does set a certain theme for your entire life. Because if we think about a rising sign and we think about the birth chart wheel, or if we're looking at a birth chart, just like the literal chart, our first house is our self, second house is self-worth, third house is communication. And basically you just go down the houses and that's basically our life path. So when you have your planetary ruler, you can really understand how that planet influences your entire life just by being your ruler of your birth chart. And that's why if you know somebody's rising sign, you could basically guess their entire chart. For example, if you're a Cancer rising, you might have an Aries midheaven, because Aries is 10 signs away from Cancer and your midheaven is about 10 signs away. So it depends if somebody's chart is really intercepted or not, but just by knowing someone's rising sign, you could pretty much predict their whole chart. That's why if you have the same rising sign as somebody else, your life might take on a similar path as theirs. It might not be exactly the same, but I can resonate with other Pisces rising people because I'm a Pisces rising, and we both have Sag midheavens, and we both have a Leo 6th house. And if you guys see the pattern there, it's like you have a similar life path as someone with the same rising sign as you. So ultimately, our rising sign really shows us our life purpose. And when we look at the planet that rules our rising sign and look where it's placed and how it's aspected, we can gain a really great understanding of why we even incarnated into this lifetime. And to clarify, our life's purpose, everyone's is different, obviously, and just because you have the same rising sign as someone else doesn't mean you have the same life purpose. But our purpose is really like what we're here to do. I know a lot of us are like, I don't even know why I'm here or what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. But if you look at your rising sign, we can gain an understanding of why you're even here, what you're here to do, and seeing the house that your planetary ruler is in, you gain an understanding of what you're here to do specifically. And when you study your birth chart ruler, you can really understand what you can do to fulfill this purpose and really align with it on a broader level. So I'm going to go through each house and kind of describe what that means for your life's purpose. But just to go with like that Jupiter example I mentioned earlier, let's say you're a Sagittarius rising and Jupiter is your planetary ruler, and then Jupiter is, let's say, in your 10th house. That means that your life purpose can be about building a legacy. It can be about building structure or gaining status in some way, because that's what 10th house is all about. So it really depends on your specific chart. Let's say your Jupiter is your chart ruler and it's like squaring certain planets, or it's conjunct certain planets, then that will add some layers and dimension to what your purpose is, because obviously not everyone's planet is just sitting by itself and doing nothing in their chart. Usually your planetary ruler, your birth chart ruler, is aspecting other things, it's conjunct other things, it's doing a lot. So you really have to like inspect it in that sense. So really quickly, just to touch on the houses, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but if you have your first house ruler, aka your chart ruler, in your first house, that means your life purpose can be about self. It can be about developing independence, developing a sense of identity. It's all about autonomy with first house. It's not really about other people or other things. It's really about the sense of self. If you have your birth chart ruler in the second house, that means your purpose involves the sense of self-worth. Maybe it involves the sense of creating stability, creating material wealth for yourself. Your purpose can involve this sense of like ownership and everything that the second house does rule. Your purpose can also involve a sense of financial success or financial gain, or something having to do with anything having to do with material gain or material creation. Second house is all about things that are tangible. So if you have your chart ruler in the third house, this means your purpose involves a sense of communication, maybe a sense of writing, speaking. It involves doing something where you're communicating or collaborating or creating with others. It's all about this expression of ideas. If your birth chart ruler is in the fourth house, that means your purpose involves this sense of going back to your roots. It involves the sense of creating a foundation, developing your intuition, developing your divine feminine energy. Anything having to do with the fourth house, your purpose does involve. If you have your birth chart ruler in the fifth house, your purpose involves creativity. It involves creation. It involves you potentially even being some sort of leader, or even there's this major theme of self-expression with the fifth house. Potentially somebody who is like, I'm thinking of like Leo energy, where maybe you're like a performer, or you have a lot of talents, or you express certain talents. Your purpose could involve expressing a certain talent that you have. If your birth chart ruler is in the sixth house, your purpose involves this sense of service. It doesn't necessarily mean like literal service, but just being but just overall it involves this theme of being in a dynamic where you're serving others. Maybe you're serving humanity in some way. It's not necessarily just about you and yourself with the sixth house purpose. It's more about serving others, serving humanity. And additionally, it could be about creating order or developing order somehow, or creating structure. If your birth chart ruler is in the seventh house, your purpose involves creating partnerships, developing partnerships, maintaining partnerships. Your purpose is definitely all about others. It's not necessarily just about yourself. It's also about this sense of compromise, this sense of balance, this sense of putting others before yourself. If your birth chart ruler is in the 8th house, your purpose involves transformation, potentially even transmutation. And really your purpose involves getting to the deeper truths of life. It's about getting to that deeper psychological meaning of things. It's not necessarily a superficial life for you. It's about going deeper and beyond your perceived limitations. And especially with your chart ruler in the 8th house, you're going to go through a lot of transformations, and that's potentially part of your purpose, or what you're here to do is literally transform. And this could be metaphorical transformation, psychological transformation, maybe even physical transformation, but transformation is a huge theme for you. With your birth chart ruler in the 9th house, your purpose involves expansion. It really involves this sense of gaining knowledge, gaining wisdom, gaining experience. And it really involves this sense of freedom and truth as well. You're somebody who needs to strive beyond their perceived limitations. Go beyond what you think is expected. 9th house is all about expanding and travel. So maybe travel is a part of your purpose, or come in alignment with your purpose when you are traveling. But overall, your purpose involves this intention of finding the deeper truths in life, and having this intention of freedom and this intention of expanding. And spirituality can be a huge theme for you too. But overall, your experiences will play a lot into your life purpose. It's not just about the mental side of you. It's not about just mundane life. It's about what you experience and how that contributes to your purpose in life. With your birth chart ruler in the 10th house, your purpose involves this theme of building. Specifically, it involves this theme of building a legacy, this theme of building success, building wealth, building and climbing beyond your perceived limitations. Because when we think of 10th house, we think of this metaphorical mountain, this Saturn energy. It's all about discipline and this sense of dependability and groundedness. So your life's purpose can really involve that same theme. Overall, there's this sense of building something to last with your birth chart ruler in the 10th house. With your birth chart ruler in the 11th house, your purpose is all about innovation, creating something for humanity. It's all about you and how you fit into the collective consciousness. This is a really specific purpose for you because it's not just about yourself. It's about the greater community at large. It's about humanity. Your purpose can involve a certain amount of humanitarianism or activism. And it's really about improving humanity in some way. Like I said, it's not just about you, it's about humanity with your birth chart ruler in the 11th house. With your birth chart ruler in the 12th house, your purpose is really about spiritual transcendence. 12th house is all about spirituality, and it's really all about things we don't know, things we can't see. It's all about the intangible. This purpose, your life purpose, is really specific because it's not necessarily something that is very physical or something that's written on paper or something that you can explain very clearly. It's something that can be very confusing or very intangible for you. But ultimately, your life's purpose involves the sense of connecting with the spiritual forces at large, connecting with the divine force within yourself, connecting with your subconscious mind, connecting with all the parts of you people can't see. That's really a part of your life purpose. And then to take it a step further, your purpose involves transcending all of that and really connecting to the divine in a way that isn't really explainable. I know it's kind of hard to explain this purpose, but just connecting with the divine through meditation, through a spiritual retreat. You might even go on a spiritual pilgrimage or something. Either way, there's this spiritual awakening that you probably will have in your life that won't be in one moment. Maybe it's a collection of moments, but there's this spiritual awakening to be had, and that's really a part of your life's purpose. Comment down below your birth chart ruler and the house that it's in, maybe the aspects it has, and then tell me what you think your life purpose is, or how that manifests for you, or how you could see that fitting into the scope of your life. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video.